Welcome to Pro Practice, your guide to piano mastery. I'm Josh Wright, and today's episode is based on the Fantasy in D minor, K.397 by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Here's just a little look at the introduction. And as with most fantasies that we see that they're based heavily on improvisation. So this definitely follows that type of thinking and that type of compositional structure. We have that andante section. We have this beautiful adagio section, which has basically two themes. This first very tragic theme, okay, and then we also have this theme that starts here, and then it has this kind of nervous energy. It starts in the key of D minor, and then he goes to the key of G minor here after, he goes to the key of A minor here in bar 29, and then he goes down to G minor here. So we're exploring so many different moods already, so many different interesting keys. He has these little cadenza-like passages. Separating some of those themes. And then at the end, we get this brilliant, beautiful, joyous D major, the allegretto marking. One of the interesting things about this piece is we don't have an exact date of when Mozart wrote it. Even his sister didn't know, and we have lost the autograph. Also interesting, Mozart stopped composing it after this part. So we have 97 bars there, 98, 99, yeah, and then 100, and then this was finished by someone else. Okay, so, and you can hear in Mitsuko Uchida's recording, in case you don't know how to spell her name, Mitsuko. Uchida is her last name, Uchida, one of the world authorities on Mozart. She actually improvises her own ending, which kind of brings back, which does bring back that moodiness, and then she ends it, I believe, in a major key at the very end. But very interesting piece, a lot of variety with themes and moods and effects. So we, in this tutorial, are going to be going over how we can maximize that variety. I'm going to be going over basic things like pedaling this intro. How do we get a good pedal there? Some of the fingerings in those faster sections and how we can develop speed there, how we can develop this beautiful effect with voicing and with touch. So we'll be going over that and a lot more in this tutorial. Let's just get started with this introduction, okay? So we're definitely in the key of D minor. There are so many different recordings of this piece. Two of my favorites are the Mitsuko Uchida recording and the Daniel Trifonov recording, Trifonov. Most likely the most talented young pianist we've seen in the last century. I mean, just one of a kind, really. And I really enjoyed his recording of this as well. How fast we should take this, how slow we should take it, how pedaled we should take it, it's very subjective. So I'm just going to share in this video my personal preferences And I may throw a couple of options out there. One thing that I want to make sure that I do when I play this is to not have it sound frantic. I've heard some recordings go really fast. And to me, that does not really communicate an andante. What is an andante anyway? There's no definite metronome marking for an andante. However, I think that it should be a bit calmer. And that will, when we get to the adagio, we can further contrast that. Okay, so how do we pedal this? One of the things that I like to do to honor the era with which this music was composed, and having played instruments that were replicas of that era. I had this class at Michigan. It was fascinating. This woman taught it. It was, I believe it was like classical piano literature or something, but we had classes in her home because she had this gorgeous collection of period instruments. She had, I think it was a Broadwood from the 1840s. She had a replica of a forte piano from Mozart's era. It was just fascinating. So we got to play on these instruments. These instruments were much smaller than the modern grand piano. They didn't have the sustain. That's going to hold for, 30 plus seconds. If I just hold that down, you're still going to be able to hear it. It didn't have that powerful of a sustain. So having said that, I don't want to overplay this opening with so much pedal that it sounds blurry and isn't really honoring the era with which we are associating, well, the era from which this piece was composed. So I kind of have drawn a little bit of a line between pedal and no pedal. The way I do that is I pedal this first part, okay, and then I let go of the F and the A there because he just has that dotted half note outlined there. And also in some editions, you're going to see that replayed. I wouldn't replay that. I would tie that bottom D. So I pedal, I come off the F and the A, and then I feather the pedal out off by about that D. And then I'm dry, and then I'll put the pedal back down around there. Okay, so between the A and the F, somewhere in there. What that does is that gives me a nice blended sound without over pedaling or under pedaling. This would be no pedal at all. Just kind of finger pedaling that. And you could get by with finger pedaling if you held all of these notes down. Kind of had sticky fingers throughout there, but I think that gets a little bit finicky. Here's with heavy pedal. I just think that sounds too romantic. So I think it's a nice kind of halfway point that I've come up with a lot of students to kind of pedal the first half of the measure and gradually feather it out toward the middle of the measure. Pedal off. See, it gives a little bit of dryness in there. Same thing there. I'm gonna kind of just finger pedal that. And then, by the way, sorry about this A. I have one of the strings muted because it's making this really weird buzzing sound. So it sounds a little weaker. Just FYI, if you're like, why does that A sound so weird? So I just finger pedal. Then I put my real pedal down, the damper pedal, on that G. And then I come off on my pedal, down, off, and then down, and then I lift my hand here, off. Okay, one more time in there. No pedal, pedal off, pedal off, pedal off, pedal off. And then I leave my pedal on until here. and then I've gradually come off. Very, very rounded pedal. So there's all sorts of different fingerings you could use in here. You could do 5-3-4-2, 5-2-3-1, 4-2-3, something like that. Or 2-3-1-4-2, 3-1, 5-2, 3-1-2. That's another one. I mean, whatever feels good in your hand. I like 4-5-3-4-2, 5-2-3-1, 4-2-1. And another little piece of advice, if you're struggling with those fingerings, because I agree, it's not the most comfortable fingering out there, but I want to sometimes avoid placing thumbs on black keys. You don't have to. You could do something like 5-2-3-1, 5-2-3-1, 4-2-1. That's also comfortable. If you're going to do that black key with your thumb, just move the hand in a little bit ahead of time. Okay? Let's talk a little bit about dynamics before we move on to that adagio section.